Alright, let us begin today with a little housekeeping. I'll be keeping track of turns over here. I won't announce the turns. I don't want to disrupt my narrative. But you'll see me adding dice. I'll add a dice every turn. There are 7 turns in Waterloo. This is where I'll place the Prussian losses, the British losses, and the French losses. And I will separate them. The infantry losses will be down here, and everything else will be up here. The infantry losses are the only losses that count towards breaking the army. When I play Waterloo, I begin by drawing Napoleon's chit, the guard chit. This opens the battle when Napoleon begins the Grand Battery assault. So here we are, around noon, and the Grand Battery opens up. And boom! The only effect is the disruption of the British artillery. Riley's 2nd Corps surges into the British center. Lobau's 6th Corps probes the British left. French 1st Corps d'Erlon charges into the British right. The British are driven back with losses on both sides. French 2nd Corps under Raya drives back the center of the British line. However, at La Haye and Papillon, the French are driven back with heavy losses. On the British left, Lobau's 6th Corps flushes out the extended troops that were left there. As indicated here, a lost detachment does not count against breaking the army. Now both armies break when they've lost 6 blocks. So far the French have lost 2, and the British 1. Of course, the French have the burden of attack. 1st Corps artillery opens up on the advanced French troops, to no effect in the mud. Lobau's 6th Corps menaces the British left. Rayet's artillery opens up on Papillon and drives the Brunswickers from it. Wellington elects to unpack one of his baggage trains. This early in the game, it can work this far back because the troops can fall back, recover, and make it back to the line. d'Erlon's 1st Corps Lancers, with support, charge the retreating Dutchmen. The Prussians, under Bülow, make their appearance. Napoleon dispatches the Young Guard to counter them. Uxbridge's heavy cav charges to relieve the British right. And the cavalry saves the day. Uxbridge's heavy cav rides down the French lancers and drives off the infantry. The Dutch escape to safety for now. Prussian Blucher and 1st Corps arrive, trying to do what the infantry could not. Riley's artillery opens up on La Haye, to no effect. Riley unpacks bags. Jerome's exhausted division recovers. Buell's 4th Corps comes on, trying to get around behind the French army. Their hussars race ahead. Although Lobau is itching to get an attack in on the British flank, it seems foolish with the Prussians so close. But what some would call foolish, the French call valorous. In they go. Napoleon sends the Guard Lancers to give the Prussians a bloody nose. William of Orange seeks to oversee the destruction of the French left. The French 1st Corps under d'Erlon, seeing a dicey situation turning very bad very quickly, fall back. He scrapes together whatever troops he can find and attempts to drive back the British attack. The thin British line falls apart under the assault. Here in the center, Uxbridge and the British Household Cavalry continue to wreak havoc. With more heavy losses, the French take La Haye and Papillon. And the Guard Lancers charge Bülow's hussars and destroy them. It's late afternoon. It's too close to call, which is not good for the French. South of Abbey-Davier, Bülow's 4th Corps begins shaking out from column into line. d'Erlon's 1st Corps recovers and countercharges. Having had enough of the Household Guard rampaging through their lines, Kellerman sends forth his cuirassiers in a charge to break open the center. Uxbridge's blown cuirassiers fall back. Kielmansegg's troops are run down under the cuirassier attack here in the center. Riley's 2nd Corps comes alive. He sends for his hussars after the guards in retreat and continues his drive on the British troops. Napoleon readies the guard. Alright, metagame moment, which means I step out of my narrative and get into the mechanics of the system. How do you do a combat like this? You do it 1 round at a time, from the inside out. These 2 units were contacted first. I'm going to put a die on 2 units that are fighting. Those 2 units are contacted first. They are both flanked by opposing units, so the flanks cancel each other out, and there is no terrain advantage. So it's a straight up die roll. They each do 2 damage. Gerard flips and retreats. The artillery flips and retreats. Because it was backed up, the artillery can retreat. Those units close. The next unit, you go by the defending unit, it's much easier, is this flanking unit. Now it's flanked by opposite sides, so the flanks cancel out, but it is contacted from behind, so it suffers a flanking result for that. Ooh, 3 hits on both. It's actually 2 hits on a cavalry. Oh, and this was cavalry charging, so that's even another hit. It's a Honker is destroyed. Super V retreats, runs into Simmer, and causes him to break. That's the end of round 1. Now we'll go to round 2. Picton is flanked by Jerome and Wattier. Does he want to retreat? He will retreat. Pushes back the artillery, and there you have it. Now you'll notice the British have 4 losses. The French have 4 losses of infantry losses that count towards breaking the army. They can both handle 2 more losses. And now we rejoin our regular narration. In the swirling combat in the center, both sides suffer heavy losses. And Blucher's infantry charges in, charging the French from behind. The French are forced to retreat. They retreat right into the British cavalry. Another unit ends in a dead pile. Price Hussars destroy the Dutch dragoons, but are in turn driven off by the British Hussars. It's early evening. The French are desperate. They know the British army is close to breaking, but they're even closer, and the Prussians are stepping in. Blucher's corps joins lines with the British line and joins in an attack on the extended 6th Corps. Milhaud's dragoons attempt to effect a rescue of the trapped 6th Corps troops. The British allies try to form square. The British dragoons charge after the rest of 6th Corps. Napoleon sends in the guard. Kellerman drives in hard on the British allies. Lobau's troops escape the traps and form up north of Ransbach. Clinton's troops rush forward and try to drive off the old guard. Buellow's troops continue marching on. Kellerman's cuirassier assault on the left. They devastate the Dutch militia. Milhaud's dragoons, a German militia ally. Surprisingly, they give them a bloody nose and fall back. You're in the center. Picton's troops fall back and save the artillery. It's a tight fight. Neither side was going to retreat. The guards are at a disadvantage, but this is the guard. They both fight to complete exhaustion. This means early evening, both armies break on the same turn. They've both lost over half their army. Although, the Prussian army is fresh and ready to go. The only option left to Napoleon is to retreat, which means these isolated troops of the 6th Corps are counted among lost, which means in turn the French have lost 7 infantry blocks while the British have lost 6. A fresh Prussian army, a defeated British army, and a defeated French army. The French have lost Waterloo, and Blucher can claim the Prussians forced the decision in the Allied favor. Whew. Good game.